Hey everybody, welcome back to Gundam Build Guide. I am Moonbuster Green, your guide to what the hell is going on in this Gundam game. So it's that time of the year again, and we've arrived at another massive game update. Today we have the 3.1 update. Now, we've seen some updates in the past that have made the game more expensive, harder, easier, all kinds of things. So what's up with this one? In my professional opinion, so far the 3.1 update is mostly just a stupid update. It doesn't break the game or do anything super bad, it doesn't make anything super easier either, and it doesn't make the game cost more. It just kind of raises the roof on all the things going on in this game, so that makes the game a little more tedious, if not any harder so far. So the first and best change of this update is that after wishing for it since launch, I can finally filter my parts by not favorited, which unfortunately is now irrelevant because they've done a ton of things on top of that to kind of circumvent the need for ever filtering out things that way. But hey, better late than never. At least it finally came. Now, moving on to the most obvious change in this update, they've added pilot marks. Yesterday, a few Universal Pilot Mark Material Alphas went out to try out this concept, but for some reason, and possibly a glitch on my end, right now, I don't know why, but I can only apply these to Double Zeta era pilots. Now, I suppose bringing out the pilot marks were inevitable, but to be honest, I think they're stupid. It made sense that you could put a sticker on a gunpla or an upgrade ship on a robot, depending on if you're viewing the Gundams in this game as toys or real things, but putting a mark on a human being, that just seems ridiculous. Or are they getting a tattoo? Come on, guys. Making things even harder is the fact that other than this handout of free mark materials we got today, there's no current way in the game to actually get these pilot marks. So as I currently know, I'm told that they're going to be included in a future arena update as an award, though the effects of what the marks will do can already be viewed in the game, and long story short, if you get the best ones and put them on your best pilots, you're going to see a stat multiply of about 4 times. Which is some pretty nuts math for some of the higher level pilots in the game. So cool, that's new. More work to get more stuff, great. Now there's apparently also going to be permanent 3-on-3 arenas coming out to win the pilot marks. So I imagine we might see that as early as next week, but it also could take a few weeks too. Aside from that, Story Mission Chapter 17 dropped. Story Mission Chapter 17 was pretty goddamn silly. Now, in this chapter, there's a blatant segue from the story we've been following up to now into a direct setup for the Gundam Batlog anime that's coming out next month. To segue into the anime, they changed a large bit of the status quo, and they introduced Misa to most of the main cast to instantly love her. I think it's really cool that if you think about these events happening in real time, you can kind of see all the characters getting ready for their big anime debuts next month, and it's a little bit meta and surreal, and I like it a lot. Now, I might as well at this point call out the biggest annoying change that I have personally noticed because I am so upset about it. Now, as most of you might know, since the last update, there has been a crew challenge mission in the crew menu that changes what it is every day. Now, when these missions initially dropped, they were god tier impossible. But then over time, with some updates, me and my crew grinded up the stats on our Gundam. My crew and most other crews adjusted the shared helper units that we use online to make teams that could easily handle and conquer these missions on a daily basis. And until yesterday, life was good. But all of a sudden, with this new update, the missions went back to being god tier impossible. Even with the handicap items, which I hate using, and even with the super OT team that my clan has grinded up in the past 3 months. Now, I was at first perplexed by what the hell had happened here, until it dawned on me. They raised the roof. So apparently all the enemies in the crew challenge stages are now way more deadly, way more dangerous, and cannot be defeated with your Gundams as is until you get some new upgrades. So that's the big deal with this update. They raised the roof. So because they raised the roof on the difficulty in the crew challenges, they have also raised the roof on literally every single equipable piece of frame gear in the game. Now, this unfortunately is very, very tedious, busy work to deal with because it's just, number one, to unlock a lot of the items for these frame gears, some can only be unlocked weekly, some can only be unlocked through heavy in-game grinding, which is difficult to pull off when you're already dedicating your energy to the weekly missions or whatever else is more important. Now, yeah, it's just a lot of tedious busy work, and on top of that, actually unlocking the parts from the menu, if you do have the parts after the fact, is really, really tedious as well. Like, they made it a little bit easier where you can like unlock like hundreds of white rank gears, but then you still have to fold them into green rank gears, blue rank gears, purple rank gears, and God forbid gold rank gears. Now, because I had a large amount of saved up parts from grinding the weekly events, I was able to instantly unlock the new torso gears, but all the other parts, they require heavy grinding of free missions, of leveling up parts, and a bunch of other shit. Now, on top of that, just the annoyance of doing all the part construction after the fact, even if you've done all that, to assemble the gold and purple rank gears, sometimes you need to like fold in about 100 white rank gears, and that just takes like so much time. It's brutal. Now, I get that sometimes they have to do this, even though it's stupid, but I don't know. It makes me really annoyed that the UI is clunky, so it makes executing this just an extra level of like frustrating. And I don't even know why they had to raise the roof. I mean, I thought things were good. If anything, yeah, I guess to keep it more competitive for like older players, but that makes the game harder for newer players. Now, it's all really complicated to keep track of this all, but I tried as hard as I could to do what I could with these upgrades immediately. But I got walled off, I ran out of material, and it seemed like I definitely need to farm a shit ton of extra missions to get all the upgrade items I need, and so that's another kick in the balls. So those are all the updates that I noticed from playing the game and being like, this is different, ew. Now, there are a bunch of other ones I didn't notice that I've been informed about through a news update, and let's just go over those quickly. Number 1, the mission creator has been updated. It mostly just seems to be some UI and quality of life updates. Nothing too crazy, same old, don't care. Apart from that, the operator-based menu has also been updated, but so far, the updates to that have not been comprehensible or noticeable. But what's supposedly going on there is supposedly they will have more of an impact on the new 3-on-3 arena, so I guess just keep some parts in there, especially when those arena missions start. Next up, custom abilities. They've added 4 new custom abilities. 1 for reduced speed cost using your verniers, 1 for reduced weapon reloads, which is good if you're using a heavy arms type of suit, 1 for increased buffs, which is great if you're a support suit, and 1 for increased debuffs, also for support suits. Now, these are very specific, but I guess if you have a build that is set up to accommodate that, that could be really good for you. Now, other than that, a bunch of part alterations are now permanent in the game, so good riddance to that. Now, there were also some balancing tweaks to certain in-game attacks, but nothing I noticed and nothing that really anyone will probably notice. So that's really not worth talking about. Next up, the series capsule menu. Now, this was completely rehauled. Thank God they did this, because before it had a really shallow pool of parts compared to like pretty much any other banner in the game. So I've actually been hoarding capsule menu chips just because the part pool was so shallow and worthless to me that it wasn't even worth my time. And a big change in this update is that the level cap is raised to 260 because they raised the roof. So yeah, those are all the biggest changes for the 3.1 update. Now, in my professional verdict, this is a shitty update. I'm not sure why they raised the roof. It doesn't make the game any more or less challenging. It doesn't make the game any more harder, except in the challenge missions, which is annoying. But thankfully, it does not make the game more expensive. It's just raising the roof on a bunch of different in-game categories to waste more time. Now, overall, this just makes the game more tedious, and I still don't get the point of it. What's it all leading to? But I guess that's not my concern. So yeah, this update is just a tedious waste of time. Thanks a lot, Banco. Other than that, this is a lame week. We only get 1 capsule again, and it sucks. I was hoping we would get something better this week, but hopefully we'll get something better on the weekend. So the weekly suit this week is the Gundam V2 Assault. Now, I thought we had seen this one before, but that was the slightly better Gundam V2 Assault Buster. This is a step down from that. It has a slightly marginally different design, and I did get 5 pulls, and I did do 5 pulls to get 3 parts of it. And now that I have those 3 parts, I don't care, I'm moving along. So using those 3 parts, I unlocked the charity suit of the week, which is the Zedas, along with Desil Galette, the creepy evil psychopath child from Gundam Age, which is a sometimes underrated Gundam show. Now, the Zedas is the first melee-heavy charity suit we've seen in a while, and that really completely threw me off. I died a couple of times in the scenario mission using it because I thought I could use it as a shooter, and it took me a little while to get the hang of it. It does have this really nice sword impaling move though, but it's kind of a lame design. It's really just the Gaffran painted black, so it's not really something you need, but it's not terrible, I guess? I don't know. I got it. Now, there's no battle circuit this week. Instead, the Saiyan Gundam came back this week, although it's incredibly weak now because they raised the roof. Also, some dude wanted me to show off my coolest build of the week, so here it is. It's my Victory Assault IBO version. Now, I'm still rocking the Hot Scramble Gundam from last week too, but it definitely had a better paint job last week. Either way, that's still fun, and that's still fun for me. Now, that's it for the most part, but there were some pretty nutsoid Gundam anime announcements that also dropped yesterday. And because this show is technically about Gundam, I thought about putting these into their own video, but since they're pretty much title announcements and it's pure speculation on my end, screw it, I'm just going to comment them up on here. Now, the biggest and first news is that a new alternate universe Gundam series is coming out. We have not seen one of these since IBO 6 years ago. This new alternate universe Gundam series is going to be called Mobile Suit Gundam: The Witch from Mercury. Notice this fancy title, which implies the existence of witches. Now, we know literally nothing about this show other than it's the first brand new AU in a long time, but the Japanese internet is already calling it Witch Gundam, and speculation online is it might hopefully be the first Gundam series to ever feature a full female protagonist. If you don't count Christina, who, crashed her Gundam and was blissfully unaware of the hard lives of all the people she killed. Now, that would be really cool and really super refreshing for the franchise, but otherwise I could see the witch as being some kind of typical Gundam princess, or perhaps even a villain like Haman Khan and ZZ as the series' big bad. Though I will laugh my ass off if the witch ultimately turns out to just be a Gundam in a funny hat. But hey, they gotta get some ladies in there somehow, so go ladies. Now, apart from that, the long-awaited IBO spin-off series, which was originally announced in 2019, is finally supposed to be launching soon. This is the series where the Gundam Astaroth came from, which is in this game, and has been from the start of it. Now, I have no clue why this show did not come out in 2019, other than the COVID-19 pandemic, but better late than never, I suppose. And finally, the biggest and weirdest news of the week is that we are getting a motion picture adaptation of the 15th episode of Mobile Suit Gundam, the original 1979 version, The Island of Kakarot's Stone, and the movie is called literally that. Now, the episode was infamously banned in America for seemingly the only reason that this episode has the worst animation of any single episode of Gundam. Now, what happened here is that the normal robot animator on Gundam got stomach inflammation or something, and he ended up in the hospital. And as a result, in this episode, the robots were drawn by the character animation team, who weren't really good at that, and they kind of drew all the robots off model and kind of too skinny. Now, despite that, supposedly the story has a lot of hearts. I've seen this episode once, like a billion years ago, and I thought it was a pretty average episode, aside from the fact that it presents the Zaku in a pretty favorable light, and it shows you a really different aspect of the human toll of the One-Year War. Now, I did hear once that the reason it was pulled was actually a mistake, and that they had actually wanted to pull the episode where Zien tries over and over to blow up the Gundam with a conveniently placed time bomb. That is probably the worst episode of Gundam in my opinion, because it's literally a Roadrunner cartoon. Anyway, so this movie of this episode is going to be directed by Yasuhiko, who wrote Gundam The Origin. We're not sure how long this movie will be, or if it's just going to be the original episode with movie quality graphics. We're also not sure if it's going to be literally just in the original series, this is a remake of episode 15, or it might be some new remix with the Origin continuity, or maybe it's going to be somehow both, like that Gundam The Origin OVA. But overall, this is a really curious move, and as it currently stands, It's Screen's passion project because I'm sure Yasuhiko was angry about the bad animation on what was probably his favorite episode. Alright, well, that's all from me. Tune in next week, same Gundam time, same YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe my channel because I only need 350 subscribers to get monetized. Thank you very much, guys. See you next week.